your poison, you know. But we're trying it out. We'll see how it goes this week. And I'm also going to, if you don't mind, I'm also going to stream it live on. I'm gonna stream it. I'm gonna record it. Okay.
Okay.
So let's just get that going, and we're gonna get right into the conversation. All right. So. Okay, great, awesome. We're doing everything. We're trying everything here today. Okay, great. So. Thank you so much, Ronit, Gerber, for joining us here. So this is our sixth. This is our sixth weekly discussion with people across the community. Cappuccino with Rabino, and we are attempting to just get to know people from all different areas in the community, all different parts of the community, and it's just been really incredible for me getting to know people who I've known from before, and people I've actually not known well from before as well. But this is a really good opportunity to get to know people, and even people who I've known, like yourself, Ronit, I get to know a lot of new things about them. I get to ask, all the nosy questions that, otherwise it's rude to ask. But we're doing a public interview, and I actually ask everyone before the interview, is there anything you don't want to talk about? And it's been amazing, by the way, because everyone has said, absolutely. There's not been one person who said, yeah, don't talk about this, that, or the other. Everyone's, just open book, happy to talk about whatever. I've also said to everyone that, if you have any questions of me, it's a conversation, not an interview. If you have any questions, then feel free to ask me questions. And also same thing. It's an open book. So first of all, can you just show me? You got a mug. I have asked everyone to show me to bring a mug. You got an interesting mug. Okay, can you put it a bit close? Let's see.
I don't know which camera.
What does that say?
So the front of it says "Some bunny loves you" on it over there. Some bunny loves you. And then on the back, it says, "The best sister, aunt, coach, and friend. Thank you. Love your gifts," with lots of kisses. And this came for this lockdown birthday of mine was on Tu B'Shvat in January. And my sister sent it all the way from Israel with flowers and a fruit basket. But this is like my most cherished mug I think I've ever had.
Nice. Okay, so I've got normally I just have I'm doing the discussion today actually from home. Normally I'm in my office and I've got just like a paper mug, but today we've got this mug. This I think I got this for my 30th birthday, if I recall correctly, which was a number of years ago, mind you already. But this is a dad mug. It's a really cool mug. It came with like a little piece of chalk, and you can actually today you are whatever, and you or the kids, your wife, whatever, your spouse could just write on it, whatever. Now the chalk is long gone, and so is half of the handle. The handle broke, but I love this mug so much that I stayed on with it, and I think this is my favorite mug.
I'm just leaning. This is the mug I had earlier, which has got chipped all around the rims. It's my broken mug, and it's the best mug, and it just says good things are going to happen, and it was a gift from a lovely friend, also for a birthday, and I still drink from it because it's too lovely not to.
It looks dangerous. That one looks dangerous.
It's such a big rim that I've got loads of safe spots to drink from, so it's all good.
I love my coffee and I love mugs, but normally I'm just drinking out of the paper one. But thank you for sharing your multiple. You know what? My favorite thing, by the way, is I love. You know this about me, right? I love a good story. I love to find the story in whatever I'm doing, right? And so it's when you have just like a perfect mug and everything's perfection. Well, there's never a story in perfection, is there? The story always comes. The fascination for me always comes with a bit of a broken mug, a bit of damage, a bit of this, a bit of that, and that always makes for a much more exciting tale.
It does, and I love that your mug is changeable as well. That appeals to me, the Chaim.
You love that it's what?
I love that it's changeable, that you can like write whatever you need to hear that day, or whatever somebody needs to communicate with you can be written on your mug. I think that's a genius, lovely concept.
Yeah, well, my wife, blessed, my wife is a genius. So
I
agree. So that's she knows what to get. But I want to just, if I may, if I can start the conversation, Ronit, and then we'll take it from there. One of the so I just want, if you could just start us off with what's a regular day like for you, a normal day like for you today, in the past 6 months. What's your walk us through a typical day for you?
So the truth is, there is no typical day for me ever. However, there are typical things that need to happen in any given day, and everything just unfolds around that. So today's day started with a dog walk. Mark, my husband, usually walks the dog, but he's on an early shift, so I woke up to walk the dog. And just, I guess, dealing with whatever comes my way. I've got a few businesses that I'm managing and dealing with, so there's lots of things to do with that. I've been known to get up, and when I don't have to walk the dog, to sit down in my pajamas and literally work all the way through. I speak to people all day. I love what I do, but there really isn't a very typical day. I've got a clinic, so there are practitioners who get in touch with me throughout the day for various things, and I get to speak and support them in booking rooms and in anything else that they may need. Today's day was very exciting because I did a webinar in the morning. I hosted a How to Stay Positive webinar with some really awesome people. So that always is like a highlight for me. And then I ran to Tesco's because, shopping features in my day most weeks. I had to run back to Tesco's because their machines aren't working for the app. So paying with my phone. So I had to run back. It's just, I have very full days. Thank God. I'm really, really happy to say that they are full, and sometimes they are over full.
What day, tell me this, what day of the week typically is your busiest day? Yeah, I can tell you that for me, well, I'm actually not going to tell you which day. There's one day of the week for me that the opposite, that's, I know, like if I have to get anything done that's not in, my normal schedule, right? There's one day of the week, which I'm not going to share publicly, right? Which is, that's like my most flexible day, right? And I can always make time on that day. Like I don't have, it's all in my day for kind of like catch up. It's not a weekend day. And so that's, I know. So if something comes up that's going to take, a few hours, I know right away in my diary, I got to go to that day in my diary. And so that's like my least busy day. I think probably I could come up with what my most busy day of the week is, because there are regular things that that I do on every single week on that day. So I guess if you could tell me, like, do you have one of those days that that you've just got regular stuff that you have to do? And what I'm trying to get at here is I want you to walk me through kind of like how each part of that day. So do you have one of those?
To be honest, no. Like nothing that I do is set in stone other than the bookings that I get, and I'm my own boss and I'm very flexible. So typically the things that are full are Tuesdays and Thursday afternoons when I'm tutoring and teaching, and therefore those are set things in my diary. And everything else just fits in around that as they come up. So I am very, very full. There's always stuff going on, meetings, appointments, webinars, coaching, all kinds of things. There is no one day. It's like on a week by week basis, Rabbi Chaim, to be honest. It's just like every week is a different week. And I always look forward to what appears to be a quiet week. And then when it arrives, it is never a quiet week. I guess I'm not very routine. So other than the things that are set in stone because they're there for other people, like the teaching, I've got 3 hours of teaching one day and 2 hours the other day, and Sunday mornings. Everything else slots in around it because I'm quite flexible. Right. It does mean that there's no balance, right? Because I will fill every minute because of that. So
you mentioned that you have therapists that will call you and book in. So just give me a little bit of background. So what type of therapist? Why are they calling you? What are they booking into? What's your background that connects you with that whole situation? What is it? Is it a business? Is it a hobby? What's going on over there? Walk us through it.
Hobby. A hobby. It's a busy hobby. So about 13 years ago, I started a clinic. It's called the Natural Gateway Clinic. It's here in Boreham Wood on Theobald Street. I became a reflexologist a year before that. So about 14 years ago, I trained and qualified in reflexology. I then did Indian head massage and other treatments. And part of that, I always had the vision of having a pediatric complementary health center. So specialists in working with kids. That is not what the Natural Gateway Clinic is. Never was it that, but actually it was a clinic that I found a beautiful space, created this lovely clinic. And the model is that I treat from there. I coach from there now as well. And I rent out rooms to other therapists. So I've got a team of psychotherapists, acupuncturists. There's a physiotherapist currently there as well. Ayurvedic, all different types of complementary and alternative therapies. They basically can use the space to run their own practices. So they're all independent, and I manage the space and our website and some of the marketing, and just take care of them so that they can then take care of the people that they look after. And of course, my own clients. Right. Unfortunately, things are really changing. So we're moving home in April. It's unfortunate, but it's also exciting. Just because of the current situation, business has gone very quiet. Then a lot of us are not allowed to treat or to work. And so I'm downsizing location. But I think a lot of them are hoping to come back soon. That's that side of it. So it's definitely not a hobby, but it's a good side hustle in a way, although it's been my focus for many years and my stability. It kind of ticks along. A lot of what I do with it ticks along, but I do have to be available to support them as things come up.
So for the past 13 years, primarily pre-COVID, primarily you were a reflexologist. That was your primary occupation, and then you had extra space in your offices, and so you would rent those out effectively to complementary businesses. But bookings, for example, would go through those people in each of those businesses individually. You didn't take bookings, I'm guessing.
No. So what I did is I took their booking. So they would message me, and we used a shared calendar. And so they would message me that they'd had a booking, and they'd say, please book me in for this time, that day, in that room. And then I would do that for them. We do get inquiries because I promote the website. So when we get inquiries, I have an answer service that answer the phone. And they answer as the clinic, and they've got it, they know exactly what to ask, so that I know exactly what someone calling in is looking for. And say somebody wants to see a naturopath, I would get an email from the answer service. I would send that on to the naturopath, and she would then reach out to the client. Most of my people bring their own business, but we also get business through the clinic. And I've got a system set up so it all kind of happens so that you're always guaranteed to get a phone call answered. And also I've tried to minimize touch points for people, because there's nothing worse than if you phone somewhere and you have to speak to 5 different people before you get to the right person. So usually they'll just say the therapist will call you as soon as they're available, and then that will be a return call directly from the therapist. But yeah, they're all independent.
What's that?
They're all independent practitioners, and they all tend to bring their own business. Yeah.
So you mentioned that you also take counseling there, as we do counseling there as well, which is that a separate business or the same, connected to the same thing?
So it's, again, that particular business is the space, right? So the Natural Gateway Clinic is a clinic where therapists can work from, and just pre-COVID, we were at our busiest capacity. I'd had to take on an extra room, and I probably had 6 psychotherapists and a couple of psychologists working from the space. So there were 2 rooms that they would use that are set up for therapy, because they have very specific, the sofas and just to make it feel really supportive and calm and peaceful. I had 2 spaces set up for that, and they would just come and book in as they needed, and they were very busy. Of course, that's all gone online now, so they're not there at all. They've all gone onto Zoom. So
Right. So okay, so the counsel. I want to ask you a little bit more about the counseling later, but just reflexology. If you could talk to me about that for a moment, because reflexology I had never heard of reflexology before before Leah and I got married. We moved to Israel, and I don't remember how I came across this guy. He was a reflexologist.
Mhm.
And we were newlyweds, and so Leah must have thought I was like crazy. Like, who is this guy? What is he like? Like, she must have thought I was crazy. But but I think I was riding. We were living in Jerusalem, and I was cycling everywhere, like riding a bike. And literally, I mean, I was a horrible cyclist. Is that the word? I really dangerous. I guess I was 23 years old and just didn't really understand, risk and reward. I'd go out to the grocery store and I'd literally risk my life getting on that bicycle, driving in the opposite direction of traffic. Buses. I just remember honking. Constant honking around me, buses, cars, everything. It was we lived quite in central Jerusalem, and so I think it was because of the bicycle. I think I used to get my back was hurting. I was in pain, and I used to also go shopping, right? So Leah was pregnant. She was pregnant kind of halfway through that year, and she was quite ill. And I had to do all the shopping, and I remember this. I went shopping, so we lived right next to the shuk. Do you know Ben Yehuda? Not Ben Yehuda. I mean Machne Yehuda shuk. Yeah, okay. the main shuk. Yeah, Ben Yehuda is great as well. But Machne Yehuda shuk was literally probably a few hundred meters from our house, but it was up steps and upstairs and downstairs, and you know how Jerusalem, in between houses and in between flats and alleyways and everything. And so I was literally, even to go to the shuk, I would have to ride my bike. I'd have to ride my bike, carry it up 3 flights of stairs, then ride it again and carry it up another few flights of stairs. And then I'd go shopping. I'd buy everything, watermelons. I mean, I'd be buying everything for Shabbos. And with everything, I'm carrying my bike back down the stairs, all the stairs. And even when I was riding my bike, it was trying to balance with all this basically just bags of groceries, loads of groceries. We used to have guests, and on my bike, on either side of my bike, and so it was just constant strain on my body, I think, and I ended up in pain. And so someone gave me the number for this reflexologist. I got in touch with him, and he started coming and doing reflex. I thought he was just going to be massage therapy or something. I think I had one massage before this guy in my life of any sort whatsoever, any sort of massage therapy. I was in yeshiva, I didn't really get massages. And so I got in touch with this guy, and he says to me, he started coming, he used to come to our house with the with the massage chair, and it was great. But he used to always kind of diagnose me with all these different things. He'd be massaging my feet, and he'd be like, oh, you had a hard week, or oh, you're going through this, oh, you're stressed, or were you angry, were you this? Literally diagnosing everything about me. And my question is, was that just made up? Is that just he just trying to I don't know, was he trying to impress me, or is that a real thing? Is that part of reflexology? You can actually feel in the muscles. He used to explain to me how he knows, right? You could feel in the muscles and the shape of the foot and all the different things. What's going on in this person's life?
So firstly, I love that you've had reflexology, and thank you for sharing that story. I've got visual imagery now going on of you balancing on the bike. I mean, going onto the roads in Israel is high risk at the best of times, let alone on a bicycle. I love that you've had reflexology, and yes, absolutely. What he did is spot on. Not everybody has the ability to feel to the same extent. Not all reflexologists are the same. But essentially, you the whole body is mapped out on the feet, right? So if you put your feet together and you've got your big toes sitting side by side and they go all the way down, that is actually your whole body. You've got your big toes on your head, and then you've got each shoulder goes down with the toes, etc., and then all the way down the middle, right? And then you separate the feet and you've got the right side of the body and the left side of the body. And every body system, your muscles, your organs, your digestion, reproduction, your musculoskeletal system, hormones, everything is mapped out on the feet. So as you're working around the different areas, you feel either tightness or stiffness or like different types of sensations under my fingertips. So it's kind of like the fingers or the eyes, right? When you're working with reflexology, you can close your eyes and actually you don't need to see anything. I can sit in a dark room and still be able to do a really powerful treatment, because what you can feel is slight stiffness, tightness of the muscles. If things are not flexible on the feet, you can tell a lot about how a person is carrying their emotions. And I've been taught not to diagnose. Like, I cannot diagnose you, but I can tell you what is coming up on your feet on any given day, so that then you'll know to go and actually have it checked out. And I had a really cool story with a lady who had a lot going on medically. We sat for 45 minutes going through her whole medical history. And then she lay back in the chair. Her husband is a doctor, a GP, and he sat with her. He was all a bit, not so sure this was even on. And as I was working through, I got to a particular point and she went, "Oh, that's very sore." I'm not of the pain school, right? There's reflexologists who cause pain, and there are those that cause relaxation and I aim for relaxation so that your body can then be promoted to heal and to work its magic, because the body is the magic, right? So I got to this one point and she went, "Oh, that's sore." And then I said, "That's your gallbladder. What's going on with your gallbladder?" And she went, "Oh, did I forget to tell you I've got 4 gallstones?" Like, I can't make that up, right? I didn't know that she had missed out any information or anything. And she didn't know what point I was working on. Her body gave feedback to her and to me that there was something going on there, right? So that's one example. And then I worked on it for a bit. And, you can feel when someone's chest is tight. And when you have that level of understanding of the mind-body connection, you can actually see, or you'll know that when a tight chest is manifesting on the feet, it could be breathing, it could be asthma, and it could also be somebody who's struggling to take in life, right? You breathe in life. So there's an emotional response that we have in our body. And with reflexology, why I love it as a treatment is you get to work on somebody's physical body, emotional body, and energy as well. Energetically, you can actually pick up a lot if somebody's very sluggish or heavy, or there's blockages. I could go on for England. There's so many stories that come up, and it's a beautiful treatment. And above all, if nothing else, it can be very, very relaxing. So I have people that come for a foot massage. They never get a foot massage. They get more because I can't work that way. But yeah.
It sounds like even purely for health reasons, it could be like a good idea for people to get reflexology on a regular basis. Is it specifically the feet reflexology? Is that what it deals with, or is it also the hands, or is it a part? Like, what's the science exactly? What does it deal with specifically?
So reflexology is based on reflex points at your extremities that you can actually you can work through to clear and to stimulate the body to kind of work through what it needs to do and get things working. So your circulation, your drainage systems, etc. So I prefer to work on feet. That's my first choice. But say, for example, somebody, God forbid, doesn't have a foot, not, for whatever reason, or that there's something the matter with their foot, or they're injured, or they don't like their feet being touched, you can work on hands as well. So I've trained with hand reflexology and foot. And then there are people that work on the ear. They can literally do a whole reflexology treatment on your ear alone. I have not studied that. I know where some of the points relate to, but it's just not something I've studied. And there are others that do facial reflexology as well. And again, I've experienced like taster sessions of it, but originally back in ancient Egyptian times is where actual true reflexology starts from. and tradition, in Chinese medicine as well. There's lots of artwork of like hieroglyphic artwork and pictures of them doing reflexology, sitting in a train. Have you ever done, Chaim, a massage train with your family where you sit in a row behind?
We just started them.
Yeah.
I'm trying to train the kids. In my family, that was the norm,
Yeah.
My mother was at the front of the train.
Yes, I want to be in the front as well. That's the best place to be, right?
Exactly.
She was clever.
No, but we definitely. I mean, I remember always, like as a kid, I used to always give like my mother massages. Like my what some of my older sisters, they would always ask me for massages. Like one of my sisters, I remember used to like. She specifically used to ask me to like find her pressure points and just like kind of push on them and try to whatever, relax them. I mean, as a kid, I was a kid, whatever. I was like 10, 11, and I just remember just like getting at all my like anger and frustration, on her back. But yeah, it was. We definitely did that. Absolutely.
So there's this
big massage person.
I love massage as well, and I was going to go and study it, but reflexology just was enough for me. I just loved everything that it can do, and I never went and did I did the Indian head massage, and I do Japanese facial massage as well. I haven't done it for years, but basically there's a picture. I remember when I was studying of these ancient Egyptians in like on some rock somewhere that someone had painted of them all sitting in a train, and each one had somebody else's foot. So imagine you sit with your feet on either side of a person, and they were holding each other's feet and doing reflexology in a train, that way. I work facing the feet. I couldn't work the other way around, but it goes back so far. It's just it's a beautiful, lovely treatment. And then later on, there was a scientist, somebody Fitzgerald, who did some experiments. He was actually either a dentist or a dentist. And he decided not to use anesthetic, and instead he would tie, it sounds barbaric, but he would tie strings, like a string around certain points on the feet, and then do his procedures that way, and they were anesthetized. Like that's how he discovered this way. Not that I would ever volunteer for such a thing, but would you?
I'm a believer in this stuff, not because, not scientifically, not because I understand the science of it at all, but I believe it makes sense. It makes sense. I don't know if it's like I just heard about it recently, like in the past couple of years. I don't know if it's a new technology or what, but probably not. The like cupping.
Yes. Oh no, my Safta used to do it. My dad's mum, God rest her soul, grew up with that. It's ancient, also Chinese, and she's from Iran originally, or Urmia. From not actually Iran itself. And cupping is massive. My dad does cupping in Golders Green for different rabbis and stuff. He does
really?
Yeah, he does shiatsu and cupping and all kinds of weird and wonderful things. So if ever you want to experience cupping, he can do it for you.
Wow, that's amazing. Is that what he did? Is that what your dad always did? Massage or whatever, therapy.
No. My dad's done a few different things. He's mainly a businessman, like an entrepreneur, and he studied diamond cutting. So he was a diamond dealer and originally a diamond cutter. And then he had a jewelry business, a few jewelry shops in South Africa, and then one here years and years ago. He's also been a dressmaker. He made and designed dresses, and he worked with like radios and TV stuff. So he's quite versatile over the years. But now, probably before my daughter was born, actually, he started studying like hands-off healing, where you kind of can share the energy and do that form of sort of healing, but hands-off, because he's, he doesn't want to be touching people as such. But then he went and studied, I think he was 70 when he studied shiatsu massage, and now he treats a lot of the rabbis in Golders Green. He does a variation of, depending on what's going on for them. So the shiatsu is hands-on and physical, and then obviously the healing is not hands-on. And his mother was a cupping. She used to do cupping and other kinds of stuff. And herbal remedies.
What's it called? A cupping professional? Is it a specific? Is it any massage therapist learns how to do that, or is it a specific skill?
I think it's very specific. What they do is they like light or put fire into these cups and they suction them on your body or something. It's it's very specialized, I think. I've never had it done, and I nor would I want to. My skin is very sensitive. He ended up doing it and he had these round red rings all over his back, like he burnt himself.
Yeah.
So,
I've seen that. I think that's what happens.
Yeah.
So
and it draws out everything. It's meant to be very good, but it's not. So I know of some of my I think one or two of both of the acupuncturists could do it because they do it in Chinese medicine as well.
Right.
Amongst many other things, but no, it's not something I've ever.
It's not something that you do in your practice.
Not personally, no, I wouldn't.
So tell me that. So I want to talk to you about. I want to ask you about your smile system and how that works. And I want to get to that. But before we get there, can you just give me a little bit of a rundown of how you guys ended up in Wormwood, how you came to Wormwood? So both you and Mark are South African. Where are you guys from in South Africa?
So we're from Johannesburg originally. My grandfather, so my mother's father, my Zayda David, his name was David Miller. He's from the East End, so he's here. He was English, but he moved to South Africa in his teens. And then my Boba came over from Lithuania, and they met in South Africa. So I was born there. My mum and dad met in Israel. My dad's Israeli, but we came over as a family. I was studying education. I was training to a degree in teaching and in South Africa at the university. And we were at the time learning about what had to happen in the country basically, let me backtrack. I turned 18 in 1994, when the first true democratic elections took place in South Africa. So Nelson Mandela was released in 91, and in 94 they hosted the first ever truly democratic voting, and I turned 18 that year. So my first year to vote was the same as the first year for the whole country to truly be able to vote. It was so special. I remember singing in the street with everybody because I could vote. They didn't realize the impact, because obviously the white person could always vote, but it was really special for me. And then we left. That was in the April, and we left in the May. So I got to vote, and then we immigrated. But in the whole time running up to that, when I was studying my degree, there was lots of conversation around what would have to happen to the education system to make it a level playing field for everybody. And I said to my parents, I would rather my sisters were educated somewhere else. Also, they weren't sleeping at night. You know, South Africa for people driving at night is quite, it's got a lot of danger there. So did
you ever have a story?
No.
Getting held up or anything?
No, my dad did in his jewelry shop a few times.
Virtually everyone I know from South Africa who lived there was at some point held up either in their homes or in their cars. My sisters lived in Johannesburg for 22 years now. And
where did she live?
She lives in Strathaven.
Okay.
Like in I think it's like part of Sandton.
Okay.
And
Sandringham?
What's that?
Sandringham. No.
Not Sandringham. Sandton.
Sandton. Okay.
Yeah. Strathaven. The area is called Strathaven. The neighborhood. I guess it's the neighborhood. I don't know exactly how it's split up. I spent quite a bit of time there. It's a beautiful community. But they run Chabad there. So so she's got like story. My brother-in-law has stories of being held up before they were married. They have a crazy story of being held up in their Chabad house when another one of my sisters was actually there for Pesach one year. They had like 3 gunmen with serious like, I don't know, like automatic machine guns or something like that, coming in, basically mugging the shul. It was the middle of shul. They barged in, and still nobody had anything on them besides jewelry, so they stole all the jewelry. But I think the security guard, if I recall correctly the details, the security guard ended up in the boot of some car, and they just walked in and to the shul. It was a crazy story. But yeah, it's everyone I know has got some sort of story over there. It is, I guess, a scary, it can be a scary place.
I mean,
But go on.
I'd never been held up. Ironically, my parents were held up in their shop here in Finchley.
Really?
Weirdly, yeah.
Held up?
Weirdly, yeah.
With a gun?
Yeah. Yeah. Years ago. I mean, they've sold the shop. They're not there anymore. But we were always saying it's so bizarre that they've come all the way here to have that. I think they did have it in South Africa as well. But the difference there is that you're allowed to have a weapon. So my mum and my dad both had guns, which I hate the idea of. But we were lucky. I never got held up. But I know a lot of people that have. And sadly, when we made the decision to immigrate as a family, one of my mother-in-law's friends, who was British and living in South Africa, she said to us at the time, she said, why are you, and I apologize to anybody listening, I do not share her sentiments at all. My experience is completely different to this story. But she basically said, why are you leaving this warm, beautiful country with these warm, beautiful people to go to that cold country with those cold people? Not my experience. I love it here. Okay, it is a cold country, but I love everyone here, and I've had such positive experiences. But we said we were going to, because I was new driving, and my mum was not sleeping because of it, and it was just the cases were getting worse and worse. We're going back 25 years though, right? Long time. And I remember about 6 months after moving here, a story hit the news about a British man who was killed in his driveway, right? And it was this woman's husband. He'd brought his daughter back from ballet, and in his driveway, there were 5 men with machine guns all waiting there. They got them out of the car. The car was on an immobilizer, so they couldn't drive the car. They made him start the car, and then they shot him and they drove off with the car. He unfortunately died. And this was the same woman who'd said this to me. He had unfortunately died. She's now since then moved back and been living in the UK for many years. And it's just really sad. And then after the investigations were done, it turned out that there was a hit on the car, that one of the neighbors a few doors down had the same car as him. And they were supposed to take the other car, and they didn't. They got the wrong house, basically. I don't know how they found this out. It's just terrible. So that story was happening more and more and more before we left. So we came here. My mother's always loved it here because her father's obviously British. So she had this amazing idea of what the UK was like. And we moved here in 94.
And your family moved to Finchley?
So they've moved around a bit. We stayed first in Finchley, and then in Edgware, and then in Woodside Park, and now in Golders Green for many years. And I've lived in Golders Green, Finchley, Golders Green, New Barnet, and we moved to Boreham Wood 17, probably more 17 and a half, 18 years ago, because we moved into our home to move into a bigger home. We were in a flat in Barnet, and I think about 6 months after moving in, I fell pregnant with my son. So I've got a really good indication of how long we've been here, because I'll always remember.
Yeah.
So yeah.
And what a son he is. What a son he is.
I wondered if you could hear the music. He must be in between lessons or finished school, because all of a sudden there was this boom, 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 boom.
What's he playing?
I have no idea.
Oh, he's just listening.
It's stopped now. Yeah. I'm looking up because his room's above me, but I was like, oh my goodness, can you actually hear the music? It's gone quiet now.
Right.
He listens to something.
So you moved to Boreham Wood. How did you and Mark meet?
So it was a holiday romance. We were 16, right? So I was on holiday with my mum and family friends of ours, and Mark was on holiday with a friend of his. And we changed hotels. So 1 week we stayed in one hotel, and the following week we moved to the other one. And I bumped into this friend of mine from camp, from youth camp, and she introduced me to her sister, and the sister was friendly with these 2 guys. And they were sitting outside at the pool having, I don't know, toasted sandwiches or something. And she introduced us, and I was like, oh, he's quite cute. I mean, I was 16, I was 15 even, right? It was the month before. It was the 6th of January. Again, I know this because we moved to the hotel on that day. And my birthday is the 27th of January. So the 6th of January, we moved to that hotel, and it was that day that I met him. Normally, I don't remember dates or anything, actually. And then we walked away, and I was like, oh, he's cute. And then we went back and invited them to go and play Tempen bowling. And I was all excited for the evening because that was when we were playing after dinner, and he never came. He just didn't come. It was so rude. Just didn't fancy it. So he just stood everybody up and did his own thing, because that's what he used to do. Or still does, but did his own thing. And then I remember we were all hanging out in the lounge, and my sisters are 3 years younger than me. They're 11 months apart, but they're younger by 3 years. And it was about 11:30, close to midnight, and I thought I better take them up to the room, but I wanted to stay down there in case this cute boy decided to join us, who'd stood us up. And I took them up to their room, and I had forgotten to take the key, right? So I went back into the lift to go down and get a key, and then had to go back up, and they were sitting outside the room. And when I went in to go back down, Mark was in the lift. And I said to him, if you're looking for Avi, everyone's hanging out in the lounge around the corner or whatever. And he said, thank you. And I got the key, and I went up, and I let my sisters in, and I should really have stayed. It was very, very late. I got into serious trouble the next day. But I went back down to go and hang out with this boy and our friends. And we just spent the whole night, all of us chatting and talking. And we went to all watch the sunrise together. And that was the night I met him. And it was that we were like the holiday. We got to know each other over the holiday. And then, yeah, I was 16. So
Wow.
he asked me officially, he said, I really like you. Can you go out? Will you go out with me? And I was the night before, he took me out for dinner for my 16th birthday to Santon, funnily enough.
Small world.
City. Yeah, Santon City. And he asked me officially to be his girlfriend that night. And that's it. And now I'm 30 years more than that now. Is my age.
So you guys, so you were actually dating, and so when you moved to England, you had been dating Mark for a number of years already.
Yeah, we moved when we were 19, and I met. So we were together for 3 years, and then we moved here, and he came with actually, and it was really weird.
He moved along. He moved together with your family.
Yeah, he did. It was really interesting though, because my dad.
These were different times. Very different times.
But no, people would have done it now, but it was different times. So he was relegated to the basement. My parents got this townhouse, and he was moved until we obviously got married and everything. He moved into the basement, and I had to sleep in. I mean, imagine, I'm the oldest of 3 girls, always been older than everybody, and I had to share with my sister because I had to be supervised at all times, which now in hindsight I get because I've got my own daughter, but it was very strict, and the living room was in the middle, so like there was it was very strict. But he came with.
Wow.
That was that.
So he came with, and how old are you guys when you got married?
21.
20. Wow, unbelievable. You got that's a great story, by the way.
Well,
it's a true romance. It's a true romance, isn't it?
It is. Oh, look, we had 21 was the registry here actually, and our proper chuppah wedding was the next year in 22. When we were 22 actually, because of just saving money to have a bigger proper wedding. So we did the registry thing so that he could stay. We were engaged and we were together for so long, so it wasn't totally illegal, like wrong. But we got married in like registry here. But I had always dreamt of my wedding, and I didn't want to do it without having saved. And we all paid a third, his parents, my parents, and us, to do it in South Africa. So our chuppah was actually in 97. So.
Right. So Tom, we don't have that much more time left. But just so you ended up, what made you guys decide to move to Boreham Wood? How did that decision making process?
It was. To be honest, it was more wanting to move to a house rather than a flat with my daughter and more kids, potentially, and also just affordability. It's what we could afford at the time. Now we'd have to move even further out. It's become crazy, hasn't it? Here,
so at the time, you guys was it quite far out? Was it quite uncommon for people to be moving, Jewish young couples to be moving to Boreham Wood? Yeah. Nowadays, it's a place to be.
Yeah, there was a Jewish community here when we moved here. It was quite known to have but it was a very much smaller community, and there weren't all the shops or the schools that there are now. I mean, it's changed so much that now I wouldn't want to move out, but people didn't want to move here. There was a stigma to being in Boreham Wood back in the day.
Really?
But not anymore.
No. Yeah. Well.
I don't think.
I mean, these days, young couples. It's no. I think it's, from what I know, it's one of the top options for young couples getting married is to move to Bournemouth, anywhere around London. Bournemouth's always an option, and it's become such an. I mean, even since we moved here 10 years ago, it's become the community has just blossomed and grown, and it's grown into such an amazing community. It's got so many. First of all, it's a huge community, huge Jewish community, but it's got so much. It's a vibrant community. It's got so many different types of people live here. Which is amazing. You can go to any of the shuls and just meet very, very Jewish. I'm talking about even in the Jewish community, you've got just across the whole religious spectrum. From very religious to which maybe there are not that many that would consider themselves, say, Haredi in this community, but there are those that would, and you've also got people who are completely not, would completely not call themselves religious at all, and just Jewish by name. So it's an amazing community, and there's so much. It's grown beautifully over the past years. Certainly even since we moved here. But so you guys moved here, and I guess it was only 5 years later is when you started the reflexology, started up the reflexology business, and then you got into the Smile system, right? So where did that begin, right? And I guess first tell me a little bit about the Smile system, like what's it about, what is it, and then tell me how it developed, like how it started.
Okay, so can I do it the other way around? I'll tell you how it started, because that'll tell you what it is as well. So my treatments, when I do reflexology treatments, I do more talk, like a lot of talking as well, around what emotional stuff and how people are carrying and dealing with their emotions, and sharing, thoughts on mindset and stuff, around all of that. And what I came to realize, I injured my back. I was volunteering at Jewish Care doing treatments for carers, family carers. And on one occasion, I kicked the door open, and there's my dog. I injured my back. And I couldn't work for a week. And I suddenly realized that if I can't work with reflexology, I'm only as good. I'm so sorry. Somebody's coming home. Daddy must be coming home. No problem. Daddy must be coming home because the dog is very excited. Brady, shh. He's trying to bark very soft. Is that your doorbell?
Yeah.
No, it's a nice doorbell.
Lockdown.
Yeah, isn't it? So so what I realized is that I'm only as good as the next pair of feet that I'm working on, right? So I have to be able to physically be okay. And that is my livelihood. And also this desire, this burning inside of me. Like I knew I was fulfilling my purpose, my gift of this reflexology, because of the way that all the treatments were working and how it was helping people. But it became not enough anymore for me. Like I wanted to do more to help people in a more profound way. The treatment was really good for 2 to 3 days, but it wasn't having necessarily the lasting impact. The conversations around their emotions and around their challenges and ways of dealing with them had a much, much more long-lasting, true impact for transformation. So I was thinking about what can I do to inspire people and to motivate people for change, for themselves, to empower them to feel better about who they are. And I kind of was looking at certain things and decided that I'd do talks, like motivational talks, and become a coach and do that sort of thing. So I started studying coaching. And we put on a health and wellbeing exhibition, the clinic, me and an event planner, a friend of mine, and called the Gateway to Wellbeing. And I talked at that on how to stay positive. And as an educator, I wanted to take away. I didn't want people to sit there for 20 minutes and for me to talk just because for the sake of talking. I wanted me to talk and leave them changed in some way. So I used SMILE as an acronym for them to remember 5 things to practice, 5 skills to develop to help you stay positive and to support you through challenges so that you can have the strength to face whatever it is that you have to, and also feel good about yourself and shine and like show up as your most authentic self no matter what's going on. And I did the talk and everyone there was like, where did you find this? And I said, I made it up. And they were like, you're onto something. So shortly after that, I started coaching people, like design, just sitting with people and training them in the system, which became more like a coaching setting. And that was 9 years ago in November. And then I went into talks here, and there wasn't anything that took off majorly because the reflexology and the clinic were my main focus. Roll on a few years, the April before coronavirus arrived. I wrote a book. Well, no, I published my book. So I've got the Smile System as a book, so which is available on Amazon, and had an amazing launch party. And ever since then, it's really been, my mission is to share this with the world. You know what I mean? To share Smile, to support people in dealing with whatever it is that they're going through positively and from a good place, so that they're creators of their lives rather than reactive to what's going on. And obviously each of the letters stand for something, which I can share with you if you like, but I don't need to, because I mean, it's up to you. Do you want to know?
Yeah. Go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Please.
Yeah. So the S is see things differently. And that is all about perspective. And there's a whole heap of work that you can do around exercising the ability to choose perspective, rather than just to take whatever you see at face value, but to really, investigate it, explore it, and choose a perspective that is supportive and positive for you, no matter what you're going through. Everything is happening around us, for us, not to us. So this is about, really showing people the way to not being a victim of whatever it is that's going on, but rather to find their strength and reason within it that's got meaning. The M is master your mindset, and that I work on thoughts and feelings and behaviors and all sorts of things around processing and becoming so self-aware that you can catch your thoughts and you can acknowledge your feelings, to support you in acting in a way that's healthy and productive and proactive, so that the seeds you plant through the actions that you take are actually really positive ones, not reactive behaviors, because that never leads to positive fruit. There's only more reactive. It's like a cycle of turmoil. I sought your counsel the other day because I was in that reactive space and I couldn't see my own way out. And it's important to reach out for some guidance and support for that. So thank you, by the way, for giving me such a lot of time the other day. I really appreciate it.
It's always a pleasure, especially when it's people who are so generous with others as you are. So it's an honor. More than a pleasure, it's an honor.
Thank you so much. And thank you. The I stands for inspire yourself. So that is about using inspirational energy to fuel you, right? When we're inspired, you're alive, you've got this buzz going on inside of you. There's this compulsion to just do. When something inspires us, we just move forward with it. There's no, before the space between that inspiration and action, we are full of positive energy. So inspire yourself within the context of the Smile System is to get inspired when you feel stuck. Don't wait to be hit by inspiration, but rather find it for yourself. So we do work on how to do that in the I, and there's obviously gratitude and appreciation come into it, and who you surround yourself with, and volunteering. There's so many things that can support people to plug into inspiration. The L is about letting go. Why, what, how, and why is it so difficult to let go, right? What is it that prevents us from being able to let go? And we do a lot of work around that. And that's where the ego and trust and kind of a connection to a higher power, to God, to a creative force comes in, when it comes to being able to let go and to trust. And then the E is about embracing the process. We are all a work in progress. We come here to do work, right? To grow and to transform and to evolve. And everything we're faced with is part of that process. So if you can embrace it and almost even enjoy it when you are challenged, and you can enjoy your challenge, not because it's fun, because it's really, really not. As you saw the other day, I was in pain. Like I was struggling, but it's knowing that pain has growth that comes out the other side of it. Like, I'll be a different me when I'm through. I'm still going through it, but I'll be a different me, right, when I get to the other side. And that's the process we're all in. So it's just reframing the complete approach we have to challenging situations. That's my Smile program.
Amazing. So in the last kind of 2 minutes that we have left, so with the smile system, kind of what's the vision? Where is it going, and what's what's the dream? I know dreams, I'm sure there are a lot of details to the dream, but if you can give me in like a 2-minute kind of like, headline, what's it all about? Where are you going with this? Where is it gonna, what is it going to become?
What is it going to become?
So the smile system.
First say l'chaim. First say l'chaim.
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 L'chaim. The vision for the smile system. So the smile system is now the baby of Smile Global. That's the name of my company. Smile Global is exactly what the vision is, right? So for me, imagine a world where there are people smiling with the help of the smile system all over the world, everywhere, where there are coaches and trainers and programs happening around the world. And we're supporting people with this tool so that there's a whole community of people with this awareness and operating in this positive way through challenges and supporting one another. At the moment, I'm moving into doing employee well-being, taking the SMILE program into the employee space so that organizations can bring us in to do trainings and induction and coaching for their staff and team building events and those sorts of things, but all based on, I suppose, imparting the SMILE system to them as well, where there'll be ambassadors. So you've got mental health first aiders, right, in organizations. Imagine that they're not just signposting you to places to get help, but that they've got the SMILE system as their own built-in tool. Just to have a world where people are not afraid to show up authentically, where they are able, no matter what stuff they're carrying and how hard things can be, are still able to stand up and go, this is me, truly me, authentically me. That's the dream.
So I think that's brilliant. I think, first of all, I think it's going to happen. It's not just a vision. It is a vision. But it's not just a vision. That's why I asked you, what's the future of it, right? I'm asking you to tell me the future, not just what your vision is about, what your vision is, which is wonderful and important. That's where it starts. But also, it's important to recognize that it's the future, right? This is what's going to happen. It's not just. It's just a matter of how are you going to make it happen? But it is going to happen, and I think that when we have a vision, we can make anything happen. So it's going to happen, please God. But if you can just finish off, Ronit, with just giving me your, what's your one-liner advice that you give to everyone? Besides just the word smile.
I guess it's more of a wish than advice. My wish for everybody watching this, anywhere and everywhere in the world, please God, is that you always have the courage to show up as your authentic self in every situation. It takes courage, but it's such a beautiful thing. So that is my wish, to always have the courage to show up authentically.
It's your wish, and it's a blessing. And absolutely, 100%. I think that authenticity, by the way, I don't know if you could fit an A into the word smile somewhere, but authenticity, being one's authentic self, I believe, in its own right, brings so much happiness. And the opposite is also true. When a person is not themselves, it tends to breed sadness and depression and all that sort of thing. So I don't know if you can respell the word somehow, but
do you know what?
It fits into one of the other ones.
When we do the program, there's actually a foundation that we do first, and it is an entire session on exactly this topic, because there's no point learning any type of tools. Smile is irrelevant unless you are first authentic. So I do a lot of work with people first to figure out what their authenticity, who are they? Who are they? Who do they choose to be? What are their values? What beliefs are driving them that they need to acknowledge and let go of in order to then smile? Because actually, Chaim, you hit the nail on the head. Authenticity is everything, and it takes tremendous courage. We've got all kinds of things that we've adopted or taken on, beliefs, people's judgments of us, our judgments of ourselves. There's so many things that stand in the way of us having that courage or permission to be authentic. And you're right, it is everything. Anything else is secondary. You know what I mean? Like it's the most important thing of all. And I know this, I wasn't able to do that for many years as a kid, or didn't feel I could, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and there's a famous concept in Talmud that says Ein kafus mater atzma, a person who's chained themselves, who's tied up themselves, right? Someone who's in handcuffs can't uncuff themselves unless they're Harry Houdini. But other than that, they can't uncuff themselves, right? They need someone else to come and uncuff them, and that's very much true. And that's why when we're all even people who are service providers for those who need help in therapists and all that who are providing the service for those who need help in their lives, whatever it is. I always like to tell people, like service providers, that when you talk about your clients, right? And I find myself in this position as well. When I talk about my clients, if you want to call it that, I try to talk about we, not them, the they, the them, who have problems. It's the we that have problems, right? And someone else comes to me for help. Someone might come to you for help, and you go to someone else, and I go to someone else, right? We all need help from outside. So, and that's really, really important to be able to acknowledge that, right? But thank you so much, Ronit. It's been a pleasure and an honor speaking with you. Thank you very much for sharing openly today. And you, I want to just say that you're a visionary. You're a visionary, and you are very, you're very entrepreneurial. You're very, broad-minded, and that is the key ingredient, I believe, to having immense success. Allow yourself to dream the big dream, the biggest dream, don't be afraid about, people. Most people don't think that. I think most people are content with a smaller dream, but there are those who are not. There are those who need to, when they plan something, when they dream of something, it's like, they go way overboard. But it's really just overboard for other people. For them, that's where they need to go. That's where their heart and their soul takes them. And it will take you there. So it's great. It's always refreshing to hear, someone of that mindset, and someone who's a dreamer and a visionary, and in that way. And I wish you all the blessings for success. I know you're going to make it work. Please God. And you guys are an amazing family. We love you guys. All of you.
We love
you. And
we love
you
you
so
too.
much for the community. You give so much of yourselves. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining me today. And looking forward to our next conversation.
I can't hear you.
Looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you so much. This has been amazing. I'd love to interview you next, please. Like, not that it was an interview, it was a conversation, but I have got so many questions, and we need like an extra 3 hours, really. So
Absolutely.
can we do this again in a while, and I'll do lots of questions, because
I'm all in. I'm all in.
I've loved this. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. All the best. Take care, Ronit. Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye.